day,
Lizzie.
it cannot always be night.
Skirt. This is how we get ready for podcasts. That's got to. We got to do like a little preview of this podcast and be like, here's the blooper behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. Welcome to the Brookhill podcast, where we talk about life, legacy, and leadership. Today's guest is the man behind the media, the Tyler Fincher from 2010. We have also a couple of leaders returning leaders from the media team. We've got Emerson Rags Deal. She's a big deal. And then the Lizzie, the best Davenport is yet to come. Lizzie Davenport.
Sorry, Margo.
Oh, we love Margo.
That's what we always say is sorry, Margo. That's our... That's what we say. So, hey, today is going to be a lot of fun. This actually, the idea of this was birthed out of a podcast we just did.
Yep.
So it dropped just a little bit ago. And we were talking about phones and social media.
Yep.
And I thought, who better to discuss phones and social media than the media team?
Let's go.
Because y'all are
Makes
obviously
sense.
experts.
Yes.
Right.
And know everything about phones and social media.
Everything. Every
Right.
single
Everything.
thing. We have the whole thing figured out.
Well,
so.
yeah, because some of you have iPhones, some of you have Androids. I mean, we have the whole gambit.
Still learning.
Still
That's
learning.
right.
Yeah, still learning.
That's right. So, I really wanted to talk about it. Obviously, Tyler, you talk a lot to our staff about phones, and phones are here to stay. It's a part of everybody's everyday life. We can get mad at them. You know, even in Arkansas, I know they're talking about banning phones in schools. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
have not seen that.
Yep, that just came out yesterday. And I love the idea of it. They're just basically like when you go to a comedy routine, you know, they make you put your phone in a Faraday bag.
Sure.
And that's all that they're talking about.
Sure.
They're talking about when you walk
Right.
into the public school or whatever, that you put your phone in a Faraday bag. So that's what they're talking about here in Arkansas. And I think the bottom line is it's, you know, if these are a part of our everyday lives, it's just like we drive cars. Okay, well, let's come up with how do we wisely navigate these phones.
Right.
And I think it's obvious when we can get in one ditch where we're over phoning, right?
Yeah.
And we got too much going on. And so, you know, maybe Ty, why don't you get the conversation started as we talk about what you talk to our staff about? Because I think sometimes when you grow up with it, you get really comfortable. You don't realize there can be consequences, you know, with what you post or what have you.
Right.
Yeah, there is so much that once again we could talk about. But one of the big things, like you're saying, is people don't realize early enough how much influence over their life social media has,
Yeah.
and phones and things like that. You know, just like a car, we don't let you get into 20 or 16. You know, the whole that we have rules, regulations around that. But phones kind of snuck their way in, and people just get themselves into trouble, and not in bad trouble necessarily all the time, before they're old enough to realize kind of the consequences of that. And you know, it's tough, because you know they're fun, they're silly, and they can be. They're everything. They're one of the most unique all-purpose tools in the world. I mean, you can do anything from your phone. You can run a business. You can AI generate the crazy. You can code. You can develop. You can run the world from your phone at this point in the world. But at the same time, they can tear you down. They can tear people down. They're so powerful. They're such powerful devices. And one of the things we talk about to our staff about is getting rid of kind of the ignorance, right? And stepping back. And you know, we always say, "Oh, he knows what he's doing," you know, when they post something, or "Oh, she knows what she's doing." That's a very common saying. But we tell our staff, you know, to step back from that and think about that about yourself, right? You know, in the moment, while you do know what you're doing, you don't step back and really, really think about the implications of what you're doing. And, you know, so if it's what you're posting, you know, while it's funny today, what does that look like to an employer in 3-4 years?
Right.
You know, while it's funny today, what does that put in your friend's mind about themselves? You know, are they now sad, or do they get depressed? Now they don't want to be your friend anymore, that you've posted that thing about them, or that silly thing that you thought was funny but embarrassed them to death, and now they're at home crying every night about, you know, there is such a wide range of things that can happen with every single post, with every single thing you do on your phone, that I think it's too much. And even in this room, we won't sit down and figure out how to solve social media and phones and the power and everything. We won't do that because it is so complicated, and yet we give it to, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. We give them one and say, good luck, and
A smartphone.
Smartphone. Access to any information, good and evil, any social media, good and evil. On that phone, you can look up and become a great leader. You can look up every bit of information you need to run a country.
Right.
You can look up every information you need to make $1 million.
Right.
You can make up all the information you need to get addicted to, abuse and things like that. Or not, you can get addicted to things. Every single thing is possible through that phone. And I think that is kind of where this conversation has no end, but at the same time, we can talk forever about it, and we can dive in and try to help as much as we can in a conversation in a world of the ultimate tool, the ultimate item. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you guys know anybody that doesn't have a phone? I mean, in college and high school, is there anybody that does not have a phone?
I think in high school it might have been like more popular.
Yeah,
for, like,
maybe but it's like even then one or two kids,
But I can't think of a single person at Ole Miss that I don't know who has a phone.
Right. And so I think with the phone, something that you were onto, Tyler, is the delay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't realize what you said, posted, did, whatever for a while. And, But whereas, like, if we're sitting here talking and I say something ugly to you, you're going to cry immediately.
For sure.
I'm going to have an immediate reaction. And I think sometimes we see the phone as a make-believe world, almost like I'm playing Xbox or PlayStation, right? And that's not real or whatever. And so it's delayed. The effect is delayed, but it's still an effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's still consequences on me for this phone. It just may not be immediate, so I think we're getting away with it.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's what you're trying to say is let's realize now before we do that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so y'all kind of share your kind of intro to this concept.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with what you're saying about that, and I think that's where coming from a household where my mom really believed in delaying us getting phones. I didn't get one until the end of middle school, and then I didn't even get social media until going into junior year of high school.
Wow.
So
you're the social media director here.
Yeah, it was we were actually driving up to Brookhill for my first year as a JC, and I said, Mom, do you think I could go ahead and get Instagram so I can keep up with people from Brookhill? And she was like, I guess it's time. My older siblings got it earlier, and then she was like, we're not doing that again. And so she just believes in waiting until you're older and a little bit more mature to, I guess, get ahead of some of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, all those things can still happen, and so I think, I don't know, I think just keeping that in mind, and and I do think, honestly, it's helped me kind of understand social media a little bit differently, because I didn't grow up with it, and it doesn't just feel like another world. So I think that's helped me. And then it is kind of funny because social media is such a big part of my life now.
Right.
I run it for Brookhill, and then my Kyo marketing team, and
so you now run it for your sorority and for Brookhill, and you didn't get it till you were 17.
Yes, yeah.
So it's just interesting because she's kind of in the same category as me and you, because we didn't grow up with social media.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we turned out okay.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Almost.
I think that speaks to one of the biggest fears, these kids that don't have it, and the parents, are feared into buying it for their kids because they think, oh, my kid's going to get left behind, and they're not going to be this or that, and they're not going to be good at it, or they're going to struggle with their friends. But clearly, there is a strategy in which you get it late, and you're still one of the most popular people. You probably have more followers than most people on our staff. You still post content that is higher quality than anyone. Your story is a very nice cover to that fear, right?
Yeah,
to that fear of being lost in a generation of social media.
I mean, she has 1,000 followers behind me, but
okay.
anyway.
You do have a
But
couple year head start, maybe.
I
on
did
her.
get social media in like
Um,
2010 or
sure,
something, so I did have a head start on
A
her.
little
The
bit.
follower to year ratio might be on her side for this one. So,
That's funny.
Yeah, I'll be joining a fraternity and running their social media this next year. So no, but it's a great point, Tyler. That is a great point, and I think that now, was there any frustration for you in the moment?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. No, I won't say like, oh, I didn't, ask for it all the time before that.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's something to get past, because of course when you're younger, you don't understand. When I was that age, I couldn't have come on here and talked about, all
For
of the
sure.
downsides to it. All I thought was, oh, all my friends have it and I
Mhm.
want to keep up with my friends and be cool. And so definitely when you're younger, it's harder to understand that side of things. But now I can look at it and go, okay, this really helped me now where I'm at.
Mhm.
So
But how hard is it for parents to be brave like that? I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
that is, and I want to get your take on this, but before we do, I've been reading a book that I think everybody needs to read. I just finished it. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And he talks about, like a driver's license, like these different things,
Mhm.
and he actually gives a different timeline for guys than girls. I believe he thinks guys mature a little slower.
Sure.
Well, I mean, he knows he doesn't. Think. we all know that's true.
That's pretty. Yeah,
But
fun.
that girls could handle it, but it's all post puberty. It's
Sure.
interesting. It's interesting, like he says that, because he just talks about how the brain is plastic. And so I actually want to have Maylee, because this is our part 1 of this
Yeah.
series. I want to have Maylee, who is a child therapist,
Absolutely.
come on, counselor, and a
Absolutely.
That's
couple
gonna be
other
so good.
people.
so good.
Because we always like to do kind of a younger podcast. This is the younger version of the podcast, and then we're going to do more of the older alumni on the
I
podcast.
like that I was invited to the younger version.
Yes.
So young.
I will take that. I will take that.
I love that. So what is your take on some of this? You probably grew, I'm assuming. Oh, what is that? That was kind of ugly. Like,
What are you about
it's
to say?
obvious that you grew up with it compared to the three of us.
I actually didn't get a phone until I was a teenager. Like
Okay.
my mom had a rule where like me and Ethan couldn't have it till 13.
Okay.
And then I had like an iPad where like I could text her if I had Wi-Fi or like, play
Right,
games.
mhm.
But I didn't get a phone until I was 13. I think social media came like a year after that, maybe 2 years after that.
Okay.
So I was in the same boat as Lizzie, where like I didn't have it for the longest time, and all my friends had it. So
Did it make you mad?
yes, but I like looking back on it. It seems such like a small issue now, like compared to like the real issues. So.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And if you're listening, how many times do we make big issues out of small
Oh,
issues?
so much.
Yes.
That 6 months later, right? And you got grounded over it, or you got in trouble over it, and it was like
Right.
the end of the
World's
world.
ending.
Right. And I think what we're trying to say today, and this is going to be the theme, is balance
Mhm.
and perspective.
Definitely.
Right. You got
Yeah.
your whole life ahead of you. And, if people are saying that it's okay to wait a little while on something like this, that maybe there's some wisdom behind that,
Yeah.
right?
And if I remember correctly, I got it like in doses. So it's like I got Snapchat after I'd already had Instagram for a while. So it's like I didn't get thrown into the world of social media and phone
Yeah.
like all at once. It's like I kind of got it all in like pieces to see if my mom would like judge if I could handle, if I was mature enough for that next step, and like would take it in like
Yeah.
baby steps.
I think that is really, really important.
Mhm.
And I think obviously our listeners are probably more camp age people, probably not parents yet. And I wish I wish you could get this to your parents. So if you were here, camera switch to me, please. All right, cool. If you are here, get your parents watch this, because I think this is great for parents, but also for me looking back on my childhood. This is something that I noticed was anytime my parents actually introduced a concept to me, whether it was social media or even to other things that kids and younger high school kids start dealing with, anytime they introduced something to me, it really helped me. Anytime they tried to hide it, or that's bad and don't talk about it, anytime they tried to hide something, the kid's natural response is to go figure it out themselves. But I think if it can be an open conversation with a parent, and doses of social media, and
Yeah.
here's this, and
Definitely.
here's why this could be dangerous, and here's why you don't talk to the random guy that messaged you, and here's why you don't look at little Sally's picture and her perfect hair, and here's. If parents could have that conversation, I think that is a
So
very, very key
important.
to a healthy growth of a kid, like
Yeah.
you're saying with the mind being plastic, and yeah, I like that.
Definitely.
I think there's two things when it comes to the phone. I think there are negative things that you can be watching,
For
Mhm.
sure.
but I think there's positive things that you can be watching that's too
Yeah.
much.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's the out
Sure.
of balance. So, like in school and college, do y'all see people that struggle to show up to class and
all the time.
Yes.
do their
All the
work
time.
because of it may not be that they're looking at negative things on here, because hopefully that's an obvious, like
Mhm.
immoral negative things, toxic things that you're filling your mind with. But food is not bad and water is not bad, but you can drink too much water and eat too much food.
Right.
Right. And so kind of talk about what y'all observe of people that just can't handle it, even at
Yeah.
in
I think one
adults.
thing that is such like a major part of like the issue with social media is that like private stories aren't private. And I think like with the
Yeah.
things that you post that are only for 24 hours, the idea is like they'll go away. And that's just not the case. And I think that's something that my mom really instilled in me. Like when she did sit down with me and tell me like, this is what I'm about to get, this is what it has. That was an important thing. She was like, this stuff does last forever, even if you don't still have it. Like it's going to be somewhere. And I think that even now, like people at college or in my sorority and like the people I'm around, like still don't have a grasp on that. I think
Mhm.
it's really dangerous that like people aren't aware of that.
Right.
Yes, yeah. I think that's something I'm really grateful because once again, my mom, raised me with all those
Mhm.
same ideas. But I also, in high school, I was on my school's drill team. And that was like, we had to have our director following our social media.
Wow.
And then on private stories and everything. So she did not want us posting anything and wanted really like every time she explained it, it was to look out for us because she wanted us to have a successful future. And so I think that's something that really prepared me for kind of counteracting that idea as well. And then I also just at college, a lot of times I've seen going back to broader with just phones, people walk around to class like with both AirPods in,
Head
looking down on their phones
Mhm.
all the time. And it's like, you miss even just passing by someone, saying hi, just simple things like that. And so, and I think the AirPod thing is also something that's kind of crazy to me. I don't know if y'all have read 1984. By
Yes.
George
Orwell?
Yeah.
Oh, read
And
it
it's
this
like,
read it this
yes.
last year.
Really?
Mhm.
Well, I just had to read it in school, and then we talked about that and just the connections with some
Yeah.
of it. It's wild, but yeah.
I think what you said about people walking past you and being on their phones, that's where I've seen it the most, is social media making people less social,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
For
which
sure.
is wild.
Yeah.
But you'll go into a room with 10 people, and the 2 people that aren't being social, it's because they're brawl starring or they're infinitely scrolling something. It makes you less. It makes you less social.
Yeah.
It just does.
What is Brawl Starring?
That's a game.
Some
It's just-
game that everyone plays.
Okay.
I don't know.
I play spades on my
Brawl Stars came back. It's an old game. but-
okay, or pool, like billiards.
Yeah, but you're playing that with a friend, maybe.
I am.
So maybe
I am
that's,
playing with Eli.
Hey, there you
One
go.
time this last week when I beat him.
I
he
don't know.
quit.
I don't have that on my.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Android
It's just
device,
for it's
so-
just for Apple people.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
doesn't fit. Wrong size for a pool table, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. So, when you're looking at like economics and money, it's all about supply and demand, right? When something has low supply, it's going to be worth a whole lot of money when there's not very many of them.
Yeah.
And so the more that people unplug from being social in person, the less people are going to know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think for people, if you can develop skills of learning how to pass people and say hello and learn,
Yes.
but I think people are less and less going to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
I think less and less are going to be able to have a face-to-face conversation. They're going to be so intimidated. In fact, I saw this deal on Instagram, on social media, the other day where this mom was making her son, he was like 18, 19, call the dentist to get a cleaning. And he was freaking out about having to speak over the phone. And they actually called the wrong number first. And he was so embarrassed and so mad. And Mom, he made this big deal. And the reason it was a big deal to him is because he didn't know how. And so it's so important that we're developing those social skills.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think more and more the value of someone being able to have face-to-face conversation is going to be huge. You're going to get paid a lot of money
Yeah. Oh yeah.
to be able to have a conversation. We're talking
Right.
about to be able to have a conversation.
Seems so
Yeah.
like silly.
It's so silly, but anything you've never practiced, you're not good at.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but you watch people in Walmart, headphones
Yeah.
in, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of camp. Like coming here, obviously you're not on your phone
Mm-hmm.
at all, and well, I mean, my situation's a little bit different, but
Right.
not on your phone at all, and you have to be thrown into just conversations and just like genuine fun. Without that,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I think everyone's got to experience that.
I'll say that even I feel like I have a pretty social life, and I work with 5-6 of us during the year, and I play games with friends all night. I'm talking to 5-6 guys a night. But even when I get to camp where I have to legitimately talk, connect, I can feel it the first couple of weeks. I feel myself ramping back up, speeding back up into that. And I just imagine a lot of people aren't getting that. The less people that come to summer camps, the less people that do these things, go to sororities, fraternities, whatever your social group, friend group may be. I can feel the difference in the 10 months of the year and the 2 months of the year where I'm actually like around people and doing things. And I don't know, it is a big, you don't think about it when you're not in it, but when you're here, the level of happiness is just more when you're
For
around
sure.
people. And yeah, I think it's tough that, social media, even talking to people on comms and video games, it's not quite the same as
Not the same.
socializing. So
Right.
Yeah, and everything's a muscle. Everything's a muscle.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it is. If you've never practiced it, you're not going to be any good at it,
Mhm.
right? And so being able to communicate and socialize. And so do y'all see people? I mean, over at that college you go to. Do you see people like that? I didn't want to name your college in case you were. It's probably all over your social media.
Yeah,
Okay.
social media, it's all there.
That's
so.
true. They want to give away where Emerson is all the time.
I mean, I'll definitely see it if we're doing like group projects. Like, people don't want to. It's like they'll
Really?
like partner up and like talk about this, and like everyone just sits there and like looks around,
Really? And you're like, okay, guys, hey, let's organize.
or they're not even listening because their phone's like on their computer. So it's like, yeah,
The double, triple screen.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
You have your computer and your phone open, your iPad.
I wonder this, and y'all may not know this because you just got to college. I wonder if people are more in their dorm rooms than they ever have been
Oh yeah.
and less out. Because that was one thing that somebody said the other day as we were talking about this is people would rather just be just
Yeah.
inside. Just
Yeah, that is true. I feel like even with, you can watch anything on your phone, on your
Mhm.
computer. I mean, from like Netflix streaming services to TikTok, TikTok like takes up so much time now, I feel like, in our generation. But it's so easy, and it's easy to get addicted to that. Like, oh, I had a really hard day. I had a couple classes. I'm going to go sit in my room for the next 3 or 4 hours, just lay in my
Mhm.
bed on TikTok and miss like the whole second
So
half of my
much.
day. So it's crazy to think about, if you add up all those hours, just how much time that takes away from
Yeah.
real life.
And like you don't even realize like that those hours are passing because like on
Right,
TikTok or
uh-huh.
Instagram the videos are so short
Yes.
that you don't even know that
Mhm.
you've
It's
been in your room for 3
literally
hours.
designed.
So.
Yeah.
so I think one of the best things now, Tyler, we're gonna have to explain to you what this is.
Okay. Help me out here.
Yeah, when you swipe, what am I swiping right
Yeah.
to look left? You have this thing called, what's that called? this thing, screen time.
Screen time.
Yes.
Time,
You
okay.
can find it in your settings.
What do y'all call it? Time screen
Let's see,
on
let's
your
see if I can
on
find
your
it here.
thing.
Settings.
You've only got an hour.
Screen
I've been on my
time.
phone an hour and 20 minutes today.
That's
Is that
awesome.
a lot or
No,
a little?
that's really good.
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
a
is that
little.
really good?
Because I think it takes into account every
So
time you
I've
just,
been
like,
on
turn it on for a
Instagram
second.
22 minutes today, texting 13 minutes, OneNote 7, Sheets 6, Spades 5 minutes. So yeah, no that, yeah. So, but okay, if we look at the week, I average 3 hours a day.
3 hours.
That's really good.
Is that good? That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I
average
know
7.
people who are in like
Slow.
double digits.
You average 7.
7.
Mhm.
What's the national average?
I I don't have that
Tell us,
one.
Okay.
Emerson.
I
We
mean,
can find it. We can
Emerson,
It must
you
have
are the
slipped my
screen
mind.
time. All right.
I'm gonna guess around 8.
Okay, let's guess. You're gonna go 8.
I
I'm
think
gonna say
I'm around
10.
there too.
I'm gonna say
Okay.
10. Let's go.
Okay.
I think 7. I think I'm average.
All right.
Okay.
What are we? Wait. Before I look at this, what are we going for? Are we going for high school or college?
College.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Average screen time for high school and college students on their cell phone. I love how I said that. So. Ooh, y'all win. 8 hours and 39 minutes for 13 to
Wow.
18-year-olds.
Yeah.
A third of your day.
A third. Look at that quick math.
Yeah, well, I was about to say quick math.
I said 10 hours because I've been hearing people talk like all these doomsday things about it.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Well, I know so many people like in the dorm who would like have it up like brushing their teeth in the bathroom like and would scroll on like a TikTok or Instagram and their screen time was like double digits
Yeah.
every day.
What?
And that's just screen time. That's not talking about if you threw the TV on in the living
Yeah,
room or
or
the
your
computer.
computer.
Oh,
or
because
the-
I always have Netflix on if I'm on my phone.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
So, okay. So if you're supposed to be sleeping 8 hours a day
Mhm.
and you're averaging over 8 hours on this, that means you're working 7. Well, don't count like eating. Maybe they're eating and watching,
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
oh, absolutely.
But you're looking at 7 hours. So how? So that means you're on your phone, which most people are probably less productive on their phones than they are
Mhm.
productive.
Sure.
Mhm.
So that means you're being, and that's if you're getting 8 hours sleep. So if you're not getting 8 hours of sleep, you're going to be unhealthy. I mean,
Yeah.
typically, you
Mhm.
really, sleep is
Sure.
so important. I know you were laughing because I don't know
Yeah,
that
this
you quite
media
get 8
too.
hours.
Yeah.
Well, during the summer, I mean, that's
Sure.
a different type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying it's not for the summer.
I'm a 4-hour a night kind of guy, but
That's
Okay.
crazy.
I am not the healthiest person either,
Yeah.
so I can probably agree with you on that. So.
Well, I've gotten huge into health.
Sure.
Like, well, okay, let's go. I'm not crazy, but I'm big into learning about
Oh
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I don't think I'm like a fanatic about it or anything. I mean, I just had cookies for lunch, so.
Mhm.
But but I mean, like, what's that time breakdown? And so
Yeah.
you're not going to be good in college. You're not going to be good at your job,
Mhm.
right? Not if you're going 10 out. Not if you're going double digits.
Yeah.
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 No, that is that's every non-busy hour.
Mhm.
Every single one is on the phone.
Wild, yeah. And I think also in college especially, even for me in high school some, a lot of your apps that you use for classes and things like that, like you have apps like that on your phone. And so some of that might be working time, but then it becomes so hard to separate, what is
Mm-hmm.
just draining me, like looking at my phone all the time, and what's like working. And that's been something that I've been trying to work on, is just being more present, because I think that is something that, because of social media, our generation struggles with a lot. Like we were saying, it's like a whole nother world.
Mm-hmm.
And this is bring up my mom again. Shout out. But
We should just have Mama Deb on the.
maybe
She is awesome.
Jen and
She's
Jen right
alumni.
there.
she'll love this. She is, yeah. But she kind of encouraged all of our family a couple of years ago to start doing the word of the year thing. I don't know if y'all.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
Explain
so,
that. I have no
So, basically, just beginning of the year, you decide on one word to focus on for that whole year, instead of like, a resolution being something unrealistic. It's just a word to focus on, dive
Mhm.
into. And so, mine this year has been dwell, and we actually. This going on a whole tangent, but we've been doing with all of the media girls every week a word of the week,
On
and
Monday
that's what we're.
nights.
So that's also the word we had for this week.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I was saying, like 2 parts, dwelling in Him and then dwelling in the season you're at right now, being present with the people around you.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And so, yeah, I think that is something that I've personally been trying to work on, is separating the two. And even this summer, like running the social media now, it's been kind of a challenge because I am also so like focused in on my work. And Tyler knows this too, also being a team lead, take that time to connect with the team
Mm-hmm.
and then still get my work done. But in like a way that connects the two, and bringing everyone in on that. So, yeah.
That's so good, because my favorite thing is, as a leader, it's not about what you can do. It's about what
Right.
you can multiply and produce in others.
Right.
Right? Because if you're great and your team is not, you're not a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just a doer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that is so good.
I actually do like a similar thing. I also do a word of the year, and for the past 2 years,
I guess, Tyler, we got to
need
start
a word
doing
of the
a
year.
Start doing
yeah,
it. I don't
starting in
know.
January.
Maybe we found it on social media, but so
I think
I've
my
had
mom probably did.
I've had the same one for 2 years now, and it's intentional.
Oof.
Because I feel like I'm a
Mhm.
super indecisive person, so like thinking of
Yeah.
one word for the whole year was like a struggle for me. But I felt like you, Lizzie said, you could break down into 2 ways of like being intentional and setting time apart from my day that is just so busy and all the time I spend on my phone. Set time apart so I can actually spend time with the Lord and like talk to Him and be with Him. But then also,
Yeah.
I'm an introvert, and so I have to choose to like put myself with the people and like connect with them and not just like close myself off. So being intentional about connecting with people and like being with people and not just sitting and like scrolling or being alone. So intentional is also.
Yes. Yeah.
I think sometimes if we're sitting next to each other and we're both scrolling, it's almost like we connected, but we really didn't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Me and my friends joke about screenagers, and we'll be like hang up and hang out.
I was
Yes.
gonna
Teenagers.
I was gonna literally say that, because anytime I'm sitting at the dinner table, my kids will tell me, hang up and hang
Oh,
out.
we weren't allowed to have our phones at the table. They had to be like over in
Okay.
the kitchen.
Okay. Carson's shaking his head. Yes, that's
Yeah.
you.
You just leave your phone in your not even in the same room.
Not even in the same
Not in
room.
the same room at bed.
All right, that's
Yeah.
the Macmillans.
When,
You go
Okay.
hang up and hang out.
Hang up and hang out.
when we would go to bed, our phones had to be downstairs and we were upstairs. Like
See, I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were really
I
good
like
about
that.
like they gave me access to it, but they were very good about parenting and limiting what I had, you know. So
Yeah.
I was not a good parent, apparently, because these
well, I'm
are
not saying that's
these are
the
not
only
things.
way. That's
No,
not the
these are-
only way,
yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
what worked for me and my brother really well.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I don't think that was super when phones were on the up and the rise, and they are still on the up and the rise. But over the last 15 years, that wasn't a thing. It was more phone time and quiet down and here's your phone. But I do think as phones have really settled in to be, like you said, everyone has a phone.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like the hang up and hang out and I think people are more aware of that.
For sure.
I do
Definitely.
think there has been a little bit of self-balancing in the social media world. When you're around people and someone's I think people will more naturally call you out now for that, and
Yeah.
there's a little bit of natural self-correction there, which is nice to see. And I don't want to derail our direction here because it's obviously really good, but I think I kind of picked up. You were saying that the word of the year might have come from social media, or your
Mhm.
mom might have seen it on social
Yeah.
media. Are there good things? Are there solid things that you've seen from social media? Obviously, as a summer camp, if we thought it was evil and only evil, we wouldn't have it.
We wouldn't
And
even
so,
we wouldn't even have a social.
we clearly
Yeah.
don't. But are there things that you guys have seen that are positive things that have really benefited you, your friend groups, your families, anything like that you could think of?
Oh yeah. I mean, the obvious, I guess, would be that you can keep up with people from
Yeah.
all over. I think, going into college and having friends who are went to college in every
Mhm.
state, and then obviously your camp friends that are all over, being able to keep up with them is a great plus. And then family, and so I think that. And
Yeah, we had to write
yeah.
letters.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that's how
Right,
we. And then I just saw a guy. I haven't seen him in 24 years. I just saw him this last Monday since we were
Wow.
campers together.
That's crazy.
So
That's
yeah.
cool.
So anyway, we
Yeah.
didn't have that kind of stuff
Yeah.
back in my day.
I
Right.
think, yeah, like Lizzie's saying, I think it's
Mhm.
so beneficial for those friendships. Like, I know me and
Mhm.
her, like, we go to different colleges, but we still keep up just the same amount in the year. And, like,
Mhm.
whenever I was in Alabama, we met up and, like, we talked about it through social
Roll
media.
Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll
No,
Tide,
I'm
roll.
I'm not saying that, but
Um,
we use the social
Okay.
media for our advantage to, like, be able to see each other
yes.
and, like, keep up with each other. Because, like,
Mhm.
I didn't know she went Kayo until I, like, saw, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's, like, those sweet things that you can
Mm-hmm.
it's such a tool for that. But then it's also, it helps in the longer distance friendships and connections. But then if me and you are right here on our phones and it's limiting the in person and like present connections. So.
Right.
It's so true. I do text threads with my friends. You know, if we're not just saying social media, if we're saying just the phone
Phones,
as a
yeah.
whole.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I think me and my buddies, it has been such an encouragement for me.
Yeah.
Because we will be like today, I go on the phone and sign my night and saying, "Hey, I'm praying for all of you specifically today. Love
Wow,
you
yeah.
guys."
That's good.
I mean that's pride. You didn't have that.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't want to dog on it all. What you had
Right,
something?
Yeah. And I think finding a good middle ground is important with that because, again, if you have a friend who lives far away and the only way you keep up with them is social media, then that's probably another downside because before you might have called them and talked for a couple hours.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think finding a good middle ground, it's better than having to write letters and never seeing them or really having
For
a
sure.
conversation.
Right.
But yeah, finding that middle ground for sure.
I think you mentioned about not just being social media, but like think about just camp in general. Having a cell phone in every single pocket, every single activity, the safety, the efficiency.
For sure.
For the staff, obviously,
For the
is what you're
staff,
saying.
right? For the staff.
And it's only the main staff that has it. Like
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Sorry, I wanted to clarify that.
But and then just the fun and even ditching off back into social media. When counselors can see what other counselors did and see how fun that thing was and see how, oh my gosh, this person did this thing. It was so much fun. Camp surely has compounded multiple times over in safety, security, efficiency, fun, because of all these devices and phones and cameras taking pictures and sharing posts. And, and then, I think for camp too, one of our big things is the Instagram and the Facebook, connecting with parents.
Yes.
Being able to explain to someone what Brookhill is the big
For
thing.
sure.
That's the Instagram, right? The
Well, it's Smug
Instagram
Mug too.
Yeah, Smug
I
Mug
mean,
too.
because, or as one grandmother referred to it as mugshot.
Mugshots.
Saw my
Mugshots.
grandkids on mugshots. No, you
Absolutely.
didn't.
No.
You saw them on Smug
That's,
Mug.
that's different.
That's a
We try
different
to
thing.
keep them from mugshots.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But but that's so true. But they scroll through that Smug Mug and
Yeah.
they're like, I never went to camp, and now I actually
See
feel like
so
I
much
know
of it.
what
Right.
y'all
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Because that was the big thing 5-6 years ago is how do you explain Brookhill to someone?
Right.
Oh, well now we got Lizzie,
Yeah.
so
Right. That's
she'll
right.
tell you.
That's right.
I also I think throughout the year it makes it so much better. We can post the little Bible studies reels on our Instagram, and kids get a message from us in the
Piece
middle
of
of the
Brookhill.
year. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they get to keep up with us. It's a great reminder throughout the year for them. So I think that's a great plus.
Podcast throughout
Yeah.
the
Oh
year.
yeah.
Even not with the actual Brookhill Instagram, like plug that, but
Yeah.
like Lizzie was saying too, she wanted to follow her counselors and see what they
Yes.
were doing throughout the year. And I think for me too, it was so important to see that these people that I looked up to and like these are my heroes, that this wasn't only at Brookhill. Like they are these people throughout the year at their home, in their college, at their school, on their team, whatever they're doing, they're still the Brookhill counselor, just not in the red t-shirt exactly. So I think that was so important for me as a camper, just like when I did get the social media and I could follow all of these counselors, I was like, oh, well, they can do it throughout the year. I can too. And I think that was such an important part to like, you could see that when you have social media. And I feel like you just had to believe it or like think it when you couldn't physically see it, if that makes sense.
Which is why Tyler says it's so important what our
Right.
staff
For
is
sure.
posting during the year.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank the Lord, you got parents like your parents. I know there's got to be others that are really trained
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys to really think through what you're posting because people are watching you.
And our counselors are special, and that's what makes Brookhill, different. Fun Connection Jesus is only facilitated truly by our counselors, and that's really what set Brookhill apart. Is our counselors come here, they get the fun, they get the connection, they get the Jesus, and then we can, because they have those three pillars, we can say, parents, this is a person that you can look up to. This is a person your kid can follow. We talked to our staff about that, like you said at the beginning of the year. That you are accepting the responsibility for the next 5 years of your life, that your half of your Instagram following is going to be 12 to 17-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And until they move off and into college, that you're going to be shaping, molding, mentoring, just because every single post you do, they stare at it, they study it, they love you so much, and they look at everything you do. They look up to you so much, and so it's a big deal.
When you talk about positives, I know for me, I always say that leaders are readers. This is a leadership podcast, right? You got to read books. It's important that you're growing. And I don't do well with physical books, so I had to have like CDs to listen to audiobooks, and so that was never good. So when you could get books on your phone, that helped me tremendously, right? I mean, I went from reading a book a year to, last year I read 20 books. This year I'm on the way to 22, 23 books. And, but it's audiobooks, and so, I mean, like I'm weed eating last night outside because actually, for me, I enjoy that. I know it's weird, but I'm listening to an audiobook as I'm doing that. Yeah. So I'm I'm able to learn. I do a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
I love podcasts.
Yeah.
Love podcasts.
Podcasts
like this
are
one.
good.
There was times
Pretty
like
good
when I JC'd, I would miss Brookhill so much when I left that my whole drive home it would just be Brookhill podcast. Like I was like, I'm gonna listen to as many as I can in this hour drive home. The first one was Hetty's, and it was when I was driving home, and I was like,
what'd you learn from Hetty's?
Oh, just like I love when I know the reasons and the behind,
like why the red T-shirt,
of why it's a red T-shirt, even though
it was their favorite color.
Their favorite color. But like knowing like her story behind it all was so special, and making it like even seeing her on the ranch now is so much more important and so like cool to me because like she is like the one behind it, and like knowing how they came about it with like the barn and like how they had to sell things to like pay for it. It was just like it was so cool to learn about the history of like my second home and like knowing about it.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So Tyler, this is a moment to where the people on the podcast have listened to the podcast in the past.
We've come full circle.
That is really cool.
Is that a big moment for you?
It actually is. I've been waiting.
Is this your first time on the pod?
This is.
Okay.
This is.
Yep.
That's awesome. I think one of the cool things in hearing you say that one of your favorite things is just the realness in hearing just the underlying story. And I think Griffin told me that at one point too. He just loved the simple things. And I know, and I'm going to go into a point with this at some point, I promise.
Do it.
But one of our bigger posts is just the ranch updates this last year. It was just like, hey, we painted the EC and there's a go-kart track. Yeah, Carson filmed it. The transition video of it. Great job. Emma Manser was the voice, if you didn't notice. But wait, what? Filmed and edited. Okay, yes.
And edited.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, the man behind the camera is
edit
shifting.
He had to edit it.
Correct.
Most people, when they film, don't have to edit it. So.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just kidding, Carson.
But yeah, it's crazy how much people just love the simple realness of something they love. And going into it, kind of my thought off this is the point of it. People always say what you see on social media isn't real.
For sure.
But I think that to be half true now.
Yeah.
The things that aren't real are the influencers, the people that are doing this as a job, and it's not horrible. That's great. We love influencers. We love people that make content for entertainment because that's great. But the people don't, I guess, shift to is half of Instagram and social media is real now. And that's where I think a lot of the confusion and problems, rise up because this guy does an entertainment bit and there's a confusion for a young kid that was real, and then the kid goes and does it and puts it on his social media and it was real. And, he gets in trouble or something happens or someone gets hurt. But it's just cool to me to hear that, you love the realness side of it because most of the time people are aspiring to post the fake side of it. Yeah. They're aspiring to be that big thing, the big name, the big viral moment when really people want people. People want the realness. They want genuine.
That's Brookhill, though.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that's another thing with it is whenever you are scrolling on Instagram for hours and you see, all you see is the good, the highlights of, other girls' lives and you think, oh, that's how their life is. It's perfect. And you think about all of the things, all of the parts of your life that aren't perfect. That's another huge negative to it. But I think how you were saying, like, there are some parts of this conversation that are shifting. I think I have seen, especially, within my friends, being more real on social media recently, which is great. So,
That's a good trend.
yeah.
Good trend.
Do you think like the Be Real helped with that? Boy, that's
I forgot
something
about
that
B-Real,
that's
yeah.
something that popped up and
Yeah.
died real quick. I knew
Real
that
quick.
wasn't gonna last.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry,
That's
and I called
funny.
it B fakes,
Bee
but
fakes.
anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah, some people would.
You could
know.
retake it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even real. You
yeah.
could wait and post it late, so it defeated the purpose.
That's
Some
funny.
people, I probably did that.
Yeah, but that's so good. Comparisons.
Mhm.
Right.
Comparisons are huge, and would y'all say comparisons are more? I think it's more a girl issue. I'm not saying that guys don't do that.
Right, yeah.
You know, because I mean, I go on. You know, if there's a counselor, or whatever, you go on and Jet hadn't posted in 3 years, right? and so I don't know how much guys just
I mean,
don't
I
post
can't speak
enough.
for the
Yeah.
guys, but I know for a fact like it's something that's a big
Yeah.
thing for the girls. So
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, and that's something I see y'all doing that I think, once again, shifting this same conversation to positive. Our girls are so encouraging for each other. You know,
Mhm.
Skate was on my last video, and the amount of
Yeah.
comments that are
God,
just,
that was
"You're
awesome.
so
Oh,
beautiful,
yeah.
you're so talented."
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
That side of social media can do wonders
Yeah.
if you have the right friends, you know,
For
and
sure.
if you're positive comment. There's not a negative comment in the 45 comments I think it was this morning. They're all positive and they're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
uplifting, and that can do so much for people. You know, find friends that are doing that, because obviously it is awesome. But I think you're right. I don't think guys struggle with the comparison side. Now, what I think guys struggle with is the one-upping side. I think we are posting
that's true.
our challenges and our things we've done that are really dumb, and a guy looks at it and says, "I can do that,"
Yeah.
and you know, that's how we get in trouble, is
Yeah.
doing something really dumb. But
That-
All right, so
yeah.
speaking of Skate's video, I mean, I know it's not Skate's video, but she's the star.
yeah.
Don't forget
No,
about
no,
Evan.
no, no, no.
Evan is in the
Evan.
video.
Evan is the
Evan
star
Dillon
of
is
this
in the
video.
I kind of put my hand over Evan when I watch it. because
It's funny.
dancing
You
is
can
a
watch it
struggle.
as two different videos, and
You
they look
can.
completely differently.
Yeah.
If you stare at one or the other, Skates looks like she's on a green screen. She does not look real.
She does not look real.
Evan brings it back
Skate's
into
not
reality.
real.
So
Skate's not real.
Real.
She's so
She's
cool.
incredible.
All right, so now, of course, this will obviously land. This podcast will land way later than I'm talking about right now. But you're at 23-2. and-
23. I didn't know we
23,
broke
I didn't know we
23.
hit that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Nice.
26, almost 27 is the record, right?
Yes, yes. The last drone
Yeah.
video.
The
They're-
last
They're
drone.
both videos shot
That's-
on drones.
it's all about
which
the
is hilarious.
That's cool.
It's all about the drone.
Good investments, right, Carson? We need more. You know, and microphone.
Oh,
The
yeah, the
microphone
red
arms.
microphone arms. Yeah.
So these are the same price. Each one of these is the same price as the drone he wants.
Oh,
So,
really?
we do things in prices of drones.
So
This
if
is one
so
drone.
if one of these is gone, he's pawned it off to buy a
Yes.
drone.
Yeah.
Is that what it
Absolutely.
is?
For sure.
So Carson's not as much. You're more into the drones than you are the podcast.
Yeah.
I can tell you're growing a lot from this podcast.
Next year we hope to be
That's right.
landing a drone. So
I love it. Any other thoughts we have as we finish up part one?
Wow.
Yeah,
think
it's already been.
That's
an
what
hour.
I just
Yeah.
I could talk. I could just we just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
like one thing that's so important, like if we're still talking about the comparisons, is like what you find your worth in.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's another thing, like going back to what my mom always told me, is that like what you see on social media wasn't always real. And like Tyler said, that's kind of half and half now. But with the girls who are posting their lives, like, or their photo dumps from the month, like those are that's
Yeah.
10 pictures from their month. Like that's
Right.
that wasn't their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like finding your worth in like what the scripture's saying, like what the Lord is saying about me, was a big game changer from finding it like, oh, I need to be more like this girl that I follow on
Yeah.
Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
or I need to act like this, which is what the girl on TikTok is showing. And I think that was so big. And like I even hear like younger girls talk about it, even like campers or like the girls from my high school who still haven't like quite grasped that those videos and those photos, like their Instagram page isn't who you are, that doesn't define you.
Yeah.
So like if we're talking about social media, I think it would be a huge miss if we don't bring up like where your worth is. So
So good.
Sure.
So good. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree.
It's good.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts, Ty?
You know, I just think, like everything, the world isn't good or evil necessarily. And I know there is. I mean, there's probably a biblical verse I'm missing in that. But, you know, you just got to look at things and go through them with people. And, you know, if that's a parent, going through things with your kid. If that is a friend group, going through things with your friend group. You know, we deal with everything here, social media, new platforms, TikTok's here. And then do we do TikTok? Do we do AI is coming? You know, it's a constantly evolving world. It's not going away. But just being able to go through it with your friends, your family, your parents, your children, walk the line, walk the road together. And I think when you stop walking that road is when things become a problem. That's when social media, that's when girls start comparing. It's because they don't get told that they're beautiful or whatever enough. I think it's just it's a conversation that needs to be had. Don't keep it quiet. That's why we're here on this podcast.
Yeah,
definitely.
Talk about it. Talk about things. Talk to people. Don't stop being social for social media's sake.
Yeah.
Lizzie, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Just that, kids are smart, and like Tyler said, you've got to talk about it because, like with anything, they'll find a way to use it. There's all different avenues of the internet. So talking about it and finding the right way to use it for the benefits. Follow the Brookhill Instagram.
Yes.
The
podcast.
Ladies, please follow the Brookhill Instagram.
The podcast also now has an Instagram.
Yes.
So true.
I love that. I can't wait to see the one-liners we come up from this one.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
surprised we didn't everybody pause, stare at camera.
Right.
One-liner. You got one? You got a one-liner?
Come on, hit 'em with it. I said I was going to prepare one.
Yeah, she told me she was going to prepare
in
one.
mind for the podcast Instagram. I did not. But, I figured I'd drop some bomb of wisdom somewhere
You probably
in
did.
there.
I think you did. I think you got it in there.
Well, I'm going to finish with Ephesians 5:17.
Good.
Oh.
Stares to camera.
Walk as the wise, not as the unwise. No,
Mic drop.
That's right.
And
That's
that's
right.
post.
No, seriously. As I think it's what we're trying to talk about here is the balance, wisdom,
Sure.
Yes.
and not just mindlessly walking along thinking I can be on the phone 10 hours a day and grow in the Lord and mature and be preparing myself for life. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
We're talking about being healthy,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about people who are wise, and so that's my closing thoughts. Ephesians 5:15. Walk as the wise, not as the unwise.
That's good.
Great.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
All right. The Brookhill podcast today, we were talking about phones and social media. And so thanks everybody for joining us. Life, legacy, and leadership, the Brookhill podcast.
So I had my moment, my thought, my quote. The moment you were closing, I was like,
Oh,
okay. Get 'em
stole
next
your
time.
thunder.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
You
All right.
You could say it at the camera.
I say it at the camera right now?
On the Instagram.
Yeah.
We can
Oh,
just use
That's
that.
true. It doesn't even
No,
have to be
it's
in the
not. It doesn't
podcast.
have to be-
Hey, go.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
you
right.
have
All right,
to
I
be
got
on.
All right, practice your one-liners. This is going in the blue. This one's going to have an extras reel.
I feel like when you start with like a to grab the attention. Okay. But
do you have another
kilowatt?
button that's not claps?
perfect.
All right.
Please hit that one, please.
Kilowatt.
Kilowatt, bottom, middle, maybe slightly to the right.
Second from the right on the bottom.
Perfect. But yeah, no, my thought
okay.
after that was that a rock can be dangerous,
That's right.
but a rock can also be one of the greatest tools in the world and build an entire civilization that has cell phones. But cell phones, same thing. Cell phones can be dangerous.
Yeah.
But they can also be one of the greatest tools. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cain rocked it back in the day.
he did. Cain rocked it.
Wow. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
All right, this one just got to have some extras. We got to
Yeah,
get
we'll-
Lizzie
we'll-
singing. This one's got to have some.
I was about to say
Pre-roll,
please
post-roll.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Alright,
I love it.
alright.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I literally slipped on some rocks walking down to cabin photos this morning.
It is a little sweaty in here.